On today's Film and Whiskey, we try something completely different. Brad and I will be sampling through 5 different kinds of hot sauces, and while we eat hot wings, we quiz each other with a series of internet-generated first date questions. So come along with us on Bob and Brad's First Date, next on the Film and Whiskey podcast. Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. We are back with another special bonus episode. And guys, this is a big deal for us because this is our first sponsored episode. So, Brad, we have officially become corporate shills. We have sold out to the man.
And not only did we get an almighty dollar, Bob, but we got some hot sauce.
Brad, this is a really cool concept that we have going today. We're actually going to eat hot wings because we've partnered up with a company called Silk City Hot Sauce. And they have sent us 5 different hot sauces to try while we just kind of shoot the breeze. And so what Brad and I are doing, even though we're, best friends, you can always get to know somebody better. And so Brad and I are going to sit down and ask each other first date questions. We have called the internet for the best questions to ask on a first date. So, Brad, I am looking forward to our first date as we sit down at our table over a nice plate of hot wings. I guess my first question for you, Brad, would be, how do you do with spicy foods? Because this line of 5 hot sauces is going to get increasingly hotter as we go.
Yeah, I do okay with hot foods. And I think a good way of putting it would be that, like, Asian Zing from B-Dubs, that's like, it's not maybe the highest I'll be willing to go, but that's like the highest I really enjoy as far as like amount of heat goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like when you go to Taco Bell, what's your sauce of choice?
Probably medium.
Medium. Okay. Yeah, I usually do hot. I sometimes tip to fire, and I can do Diablo. I don't really find Taco Bell's hot sauces to be that hot. So I think my cutoff is when something is designed to give me displeasure and or harm me. Like when the hot sauce becomes a challenge.
And you have to sign a waiver.
Yeah, that's when I tap out. I'm like, this is not designed to be enjoyable. I like my food to have flavor to it. So when it's just heat with no flavor, I think that's where I really draw the line. Brad, we have at least one on the docket today that I am worried is going to be like mouth scorching. So I've come prepared. I've got a glass of water. I've got a piece of bread. I've got some ranch dressing and sour cream just in case. And I even poured myself a cup of eggnog just in case I need something to like coat my tongue. So we're good to go, man.
Well, I will say, I feel like we need to start off with a little bit of science here. Did you know that the reason it burns your mouth and especially like your lips is because oxygen is what's actually activating the heat on your tongue? And so if you actually just hold your breath, that's like a really good way to help minimize the heat when it, first gets onto your tongue. And that's why your lips burn so much, because they're just exposed and they can't help themselves.
Interesting. Well, we're going to try that out at some point. We'll see if this theory holds up whatsoever. So, Brad, as we go through these 5, the first one we're going to sample today is different in color than the other 4 that we received. And this is Silk City's Aztec Attack Carpe Verde. And Brad, I mean, it just kind of looks to be your standard, like, salsa verde, like you would get at a Chipotle or at a Moe's or wherever you like to go to get your burritos. I'm a big fan of salsa verde, so I'm really excited to try this.
Yeah, I'm like just okay with salsa verde. My wife loves it though. Like that is her go-to.
Are you eating already?
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
You gotta wait. Finish your point and then we'll take a bite.
You're
over there like, my wife.
I'm a big fan, man.
All right. Well, on that note, let's take a bite, Brad, and then we can get into these first date questions. I'll let you pop the first question as I take a bite of this salsa verde.
Yeah, I will say, Bob, before we get into thoughts on the sauce itself, the packaging on these hot sauces is just fantastic. Silk City is giving like a comic book feel to all of them. They all have really cool names. The one that we're trying right now is called Aztec Attack. And it is appealing to look at the very least.
Brad, I really like this. This has a pretty mild flavor. Like you can definitely tell that there's some citrus going on in there. This reminds me of like more of a Mexican relish than anything else. Like, it's nice and chunky, but it's not going to bring the heat too much. It just kind of adds some good texture and some acidity. I really like this.
Yeah, I was going to say, salsa verde is not always my favorite, but this one adds a little bit of heat, like just a tiny bit of smoke to it. And I'm pretty much blown away. This is some good stuff.
All right, Brad. Well, we're off to a good start. So what do you say we kick off our first date questions?
Well, first off, do you prefer Robert or Bobby?
Actually, Robbie.
Robbie. Yeah, so Robbie, if I can call you that, what would be like the drink that you order when you go out? What's your go-to favorite drink?
I'm so boring because I just don't like to spend exorbitant amounts of money on cocktails. Like, if I know I'm gonna drop over $10 on something, I'm just gonna go ahead and get myself a whiskey on the bar that I haven't tried before. So normally, like, yeah, I'll just do a whiskey neat. If I'm really gonna try something, like, I might go for like a Rob Roy. I feel like they make them a lot better in the bar than I make them at home. Brad, I know that you have been downing some whiskey sours lately.
Bruh, and I've been like changing up like the sour that I'm using or the sweetener that I'm using, and it's just the most versatile drink you can do. And so it's so easy to make at home because all you need is 2 ounces of whiskey, and even there you can change it up. Do you want something that's going to be a little more potent, going to kick you in the balls a little bit? Throw 100 proof in there, or a barrel proof even. If you want something that's a little bit smoother, honestly, dude, I made one with Jack Daniels the other day, and it was spectacular.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just such an easy drink to make, and it's such an easy drink to enjoy. That's been my go-to at home. I will give a shout-out, though. The first mixed drink that I ever really, like, engaged with was the good old J&G, man. Just some Jameson and ginger ale. I could down that for days.
Oh, yeah. And it's still fantastic.
It's spectacular. It's so simple. It's so easy. The Jameson is so smooth. I really can't get enough of that.
All right, Brad. Well, I have a first date question for you. And, you know, we know each other. Our audience knows us now, but let's just pretend for a moment that we don't. Brad, where would you consider to be home for you? Is it the place you live now? Is it the place you're from? When I ask you, where is home, what comes to mind?
When I think about home, Bob, I think about Seven Hills, Ohio, just outside of Cleveland. And I just love Seven Hills. It's kind of a retirement community, lots of old folk. I remember as a kid getting yelled at because my brother and I were playing catch and the ball fell into my neighbor Pete's yard, and Pete was like 92 and was missing 3 toes. And like, it was just a cool place to grow up, man. I loved it. There's a park at the end of the street where we grew up playing like Little League ball. I absolutely love Seven Hills.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, you know that I'm also from Northeast Ohio. I consider the Akron area to be home. It is near and dear to my heart. Don't say a bad word about LeBron James around me. We really do take it seriously around here. So yeah, I honestly, Brad, I know that you'll agree with me on this. You're more from the Cleveland area. I'm more from the Akron area. Northeast Ohio, one of the most slept on places in America.
Dude, I mean, it's like Ohio freaking slaps.
Everything that you could possibly want is here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can make a decent living, and if you do, like the price of houses and rent is incredibly cheap. Yeah. So like, you're set, man. Cleveland as a whole is just spectacular. We have Michael Simon is one of the greatest chefs in the world, has multiple restaurants in town. We have 3 major sports franchises.
We have a national park.
Yeah, we have a national park just
outdoors
south of town.
is nuts around here. It's just fantastic.
The metro parks in general around Cleveland and Akron are just spectacular.
Well, while we're on our tourism kick, Brad, let's move into our second hot sauce for the day. This one is actually one of Silk City's flavors of the month, and it's called Dragon Sauce. Now, they have a little thermometer meter that tells you how hot it is between mild, medium, hot, and WTF. And this one's just sitting pretty at medium. And Brad, when I open this bottle and just give it a sniff, it has a really nice kind of honey, but there's actually like a really interesting note I picking up on this. When the pandemic first started, my wife was like, I'm buying all of the health stuff that we can get to try to stave off this pandemic. She bought a bottle of elderberry syrup.
Bro, don't you throw your wife under the bus. Elderberry syrup is like legit.
Oh, it is legit, but it's also not going to stave off the coronavirus if that comes knocking at the door. So what I'm saying is this has notes of elderberry syrup like on the nose for me. I really, really like this. There's some nice fruitiness to this. And Brad, I'm going to go ahead and let you talk because I'm about to take a bite of it. What do you think of this dragon sauce?
Bro, this dragon sauce is dope. Like you said, there's just a certain amount of uniqueness to this that really sets it apart. The chili verde one surprised me with the flavor that it packed because it didn't smell like it had that much, and then it did. The dragon, though, from the very get-go, from the very beginning, I was like, whoo, this one smells amazing.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's got some like dark fruity notes that just hit your palate, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, it definitely has those fruity notes to it. There's also like almost more of a molasses taste to it on the flavor than the honey I picked up on the nose on this, Brad. For me, this is going to be hard to top because it has like a smoky barbecue flavor with some jalapeno hot pepper kick to it. And this is, like I said, it's going to be really hard to top. I brought up a couple extra wings with me that are just unsauced, and I'm already going in for my second wing on this one because it's so good.
Now, are you dipping made wings into sauce, or did you bake them with the sauce?
So I both, actually. I baked them with the sauce, and then I'm also like adding a little dab onto each one as we go.
Okay, yeah. I feel like that's what I should be doing as well. Man, this is some good stuff so far.
So, Brad, moving forward with our first date here, we've both said that we love Northeast Ohio, but if you were going to live in like a big city somewhere and it had to be outside of Ohio, where would you pick for the best place to live that you would want to just, put down roots and get yourself a place to live there?
Now, can it be somewhere I've lived before, or does it have to be somewhere I haven't lived?
Let's go Dream City, somewhere you haven't lived before.
Ooh, probably somewhere in Colorado. Aspen. Let's just say Aspen. I know nothing about it. I've been to Denver. It seems like a really cool city. I didn't spend much time there. But I've been to Colorado once. It is a gorgeous, just spectacular state.
Oh, yeah.
I think Colorado would be a dream state for me.
I think I would go Chicago for my dream city, Brad. And it's not really much of a dream because everybody's been there and everybody that's gone there loves it. I just love the city of Chicago. Brad and I both, when we were in college, we used to watch How I Met Your Mother a lot. And that show had the best descriptor of Chicago that I've ever heard because the main character is from Cleveland, and he describes Chicago as a Cleveland-y New York. And it really is. It's New York without all of the congestion. The people are generally friendlier. It's easier to move around. I prefer Chicago 10 times over New York.
Oh, 100%, dude. I mean, you and I took our buddy Mike Giles there for his bachelor party. Chicago's a great city. And I honestly, although I don't know you because this is the first date, but I had a feeling that you were going to say Chicago. All right, Robbie. So you're going to the movies and do you read reviews of movies or just kind of go in blind?
I mean, I think this is a pretty obvious answer for me, Brad, but I do read reviews. I want to know that the film that I'm going to see is at least kind of generally liked by people. Because, while I may disagree with critics here and there when they, when the general consensus on a movie is that it's like a 6 out of 10 and then I think it's like an 8 out of 10, if all of the critics say a movie is just like booty meat, then it's probably really, really bad.
How many reviews have you read that use the words booty and meat back to back?
I actually exclusively seek out reviews that use the words booty meat. I actually get all my reviews from bootymeat.com.
That does not sound like a website.
I was going to say, please don't go see if that's a real website. I'm sure it is. Don't go look it up.
It probably redirects you to Roger Ebert's website.
That's exactly right. But Brad, how about you? I mean, I don't think that a review would sway me one way or another from seeing a movie. But I feel like the general population now, since Rotten Tomatoes has come into play and since we have all of these different websites that allow people to kind of be their own critics, I don't feel like people listen to critics as much anymore. And especially now that these huge blockbuster movies are the only movies people go to see, I have a feeling that it didn't matter what critics had said about something like Infinity War or Endgame. Everyone was going to go see it regardless of if they were told that it was terrible. Do you know what I mean?
Bob, I think that the first movie review I ever read in my life was when I went on your little website during college and read one of your movie reviews.
Nice.
So, yeah, I don't think that I've ever actually read a movie review before I watched a movie. Because I will say, I've never even thought about doing that, but even now as I think about it, it's almost revolting to me, the idea of reading a movie review before you see it, because I want to go in as fresh as possible to a movie. I remember when I went and saw Arrival, it was one of those moments where my friends in seminary were like, Brad, we're going to see a movie. Do you want to come? And I had nothing going on, and Haley was working, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And I was like, what are we seeing? And they're like, Arrival. And I was like, I've literally never once heard of it in my life. And so going into that movie, I had never seen a preview. I had never heard of it. And that experience still is one of my favorite movie-going experiences of all time because I literally was 100% blind.
Yeah.
Had no idea what
Listen,
was coming.
man, I'm not saying that I don't ever go into a movie blind. And I know that you tend towards hyperbole sometimes, Brad, but to say it's revolting to read movie reviews.
Never, ever have I ever succumbed to the whims of hyperbole, Bob.
So I actually really agree with you, Brad. I don't seek out spoilers for what it's worth, and I know that some movie reviews tend to go a little heavy on spoilers, so I've kind of learned my way around enough now to know I kind of tend to look for what are going to be the movies that people are going to be talking about at the end of the year, whether it's, the biggest blockbusters that are coming out or the ones that are kind of generating Oscar buzz. And I put those on my radar. I don't always read reviews of the movies. I just kind of want to see, are they generally positively reviewed or not? And if they are, and I know that they're going to, I'm going to be hearing about them for months and months, then I go see that movie. And I think because, it's expensive to go see movies now. And I think that there is still value in finding a trusted source to tell you, yes, that's worth seeing, or no, I don't really think it is. I mean, essentially, that's what we do on this podcast. So I would hope that people still have, find some value in that.
Well, tell me about some of your favorite reviewers. What kind of critics do you like and trust?
I really like this guy from the Boston Globe named Ty Burr. I tend to agree with him a lot. I think I actually read a really extended part of his review of Inglourious Bastards when we did that episode, way back at the beginning of the podcast.
Back when we opened up the episode with a lackluster The Film and Whiskey podcast.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I just wanted to let you know that as we eat these hot sauces today, if you would like to try Silk City, they've partnered with us to give an exclusive discount on all orders for Film and Whiskey listeners. When you go to their website and use the promo code WHISKEY, you will receive 15% off and a free bottle of hot sauce will be added to your order. That's promo code WHISKEY for 15% off and a free bottle of hot sauce from Silk City Hot Sauce. All right, Brad, I think it is time for us to get into our third hot sauce of the day. Which one are we trying next?
Dude, let's get into this slurp.
Slurp.
Exclamation point. Fire in the flesh.
Yeah, I love how this one has a subtitle.
Yeah.
Slurp, fire in the flesh. It sounds it sounds like the second movie in the Slurp series. You know what I mean?
Yes. Slurp 1 doesn't have a colon, but the second one... Fire in the flesh. Yeah, this one, I honestly is the one I'm most excited to try. It has a label that says, in this bottle, succulent peach, sweet honey, and spicy habanero.
I am all about peach being in my salsas and hot sauces, Brad. I don't know if you've ever tried a salsa that has peach in it, but it's like a game changer.
I just had an image of being at a Super Bowl party at your house and there's a giant bowl of salsa and there's just a whole peach sitting in the middle of it. Just sitting there.
We play a game called Bobbing for the Pit. Have you ever tried a salsa that has peach in it before, Brad?
I'm not sure if I have. I know I've had pineapple salsas before, which are a little bit sweeter and really good. I can't say if I've had a peach one before, but I'm really excited to try this one.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this isn't a salsa, it's a hot sauce, and it does have habanero in it, so we are kicking it up a notch in terms of the overall hotness in the peppers that we're trying. Brad, what do you think of this one?
This is a perfect level of hotness for me.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up with that little bit of sweet notes from that peach, kind of a honeyed peach type flavor.
Well, where are you getting that tasting note, Brad? You mean the bottle that says honey, peach, and habanero? You're getting a honey peach flavor?
I mean, Bob, it's almost like what they put on the bottle is what it should taste like. It's amazing how that works. I was wondering, Bob, can you talk about the viscosity of this?
I will say that so far, all of these have been kind of on the thinner side. The Dragon and the Slurp are definitely thicker than the Aztec Attack was. But Brad, you're right. And it's a different kind of sweetness than the Dragon. That one was more of like a honey barbecue kind of a thing, or a molasses barbecue. This one, it has the brightness from that peach. It has some really nice summery fruit notes on it. And using the honey with it, it definitely keeps it in that sort of brighter flavor profile. But the heat comes at the end, and it's not overpowering. Like, if I gave this to somebody, I don't know if they would be able to identify that it was a habanero-based hot sauce. It's just so tasty, and the sweetness perfectly balances out the heat here.
Yeah, Bob, this one, like I said, you move from that nice sweetness to the heat, and then that heat just lingers on your tongue for just long enough to let you know that it's there, but it's not overpowering. And it's exactly what I want out of a hot sauce. But more importantly than hot sauce, Bob, I'm really curious. What does your perfect day look like?
What does my perfect day look like? Like being a guy with 2 small children, I value sleep now more than I ever did. So I'm going to say my perfect day and then know that that's absolutely not going to happen in reality. I like waking up early. I've always been a morning person. So I know that in reality, I would just sleep in. But let's just say perfect day. I'm up at 6:30 at the latest, 7 o'clock maybe.
So it sounds like your perfect day involves you not having children.
That's not true at all. Don't do that. I would say I wake up at 6:30, 7 in the morning. I have a nice breakfast. I just always imagined having a house that I can sit out on the back, the porch or the back deck, and I'm overlooking something and I get to read or something in the morning. I've always wanted
the Chicago Vista.
I've always wanted to be the guy that's able to just sit down with, a good book in the morning or with a newspaper and really intentionally focus on reading before I get going for the day. And honestly, Brad, for me, if I can plan out my mornings well and if I can get a lot done before noon, I'm totally fine with the rest of the day being completely open and having being spontaneous, doing whatever I want. I think the key for me has always been get the mornings right, and then the rest of the day follows.
So what you're saying is you're going to wake up and eat a breakfast and then do a bunch of paperwork till noon, and that's your perfect day?
No. Paperwork?
You said you just want to get random stuff done. I just imagine you sitting at your desk shuffling papers around and be like, paid this water bill. Take that,
it's
City of Akron.
It's a perfect day. Right. Well, I mean, Brad, are you more of a morning person or are you a night owl?
I don't know if I'm really either. I can be a night owl. But I like getting up early when I'm in a regular schedule, getting up, maybe not 6 or 6:30. When I'm in a regular schedule of getting up at 7 to 8 a.m., man, that just feels wonderful. Because I will agree with you. When you have a productive morning, it just feels like you're the champion of the world. Like you're Rocky on top of the steps. You just have accomplished things and you're better than everyone else because they all sucked and slept in and didn't do things. And there is just something satisfying about that.
There really is. It's just, there's a sense of moral superiority.
That's right. And if there's anything that makes a perfect day, it's moral superiority.
It's feeling superior to everyone. All right, Brad, I have a proposition here. We have a bunch of these first date questions left. I say what we do from here on out is let's take these last 2 hot sauces and just slather our wings with them. And then let's go back and forth with these questions. Not each of us answering them, but just I ask you one, you ask me one, and we try to go lightning round before the heat overpowers us.
Yeah, let's do it, man. All right. Next up, we have Silk City Hot Experiment. Mysteries of the Habanero Revealed.
Brad, how do you do with habanero stuff? Do you normally tip into habanero sauces or no?
I do not.
I don't either.
I'm not a big fan of the flavor. It's always too hot. I will say, at the very least, I am willing to give this a try. It smells interesting. I think it has an interesting texture to it. But we'll see if I like it or not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And again, we want to give a huge thanks to Silk City for not only sponsoring this episode, but for sending us these 5 hot sauces to try.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd have any problem with us saying, our preferred flavor profile on a hot sauce is not tipping into like the hot extremes.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is there or not, Brad, but it definitely smells hotter. It doesn't have that peach or honey to undercut anything. I just smell like it smells kind of vinegary and it smells like hot peppers. And that's, and it's really thick. Like I had to do the old fashioned ketchup bottle tap on the bottom to get mine out because it is so thick.
I wonder if we need to like explain that to the children in the audience. Like what a glass bottle of ketchup actually is.
I've still seen them at some restaurants. Like some places like to throw it back to the glass bottle days.
Yeah, this hot experiment though, I am excited to give it a try. Although I will say I am doing it with a little bit of fear and trepidation.
All right, here's what I'll say. The flavor is milder than I thought it would be. Like it doesn't taste like super vinegary or anything like that. The habanero builds, man. I am like, I'm starting to feel it. You don't feel it at first. I think talking while we do this is the worst thing if that oxygen thing is true, man. This is like, it's getting spicy up in my mouth.
Yeah, bro, this one's a little bit brutal.
Whew. See, I don't think this is brutal. This is like a really spicy, like Thai food or something, or like a really, really peppery. Almost like, if something has a little bit too much cayenne on it. But like, it's not killing my mouth. It's not an unpleasant flavor. I think this is like right at my limit for, it's a little bit spicier than I like it to be, but it's still not like overwhelmingly, bothering me.
No, I would agree with you. I think one of the big things for me when it comes to hot sauce is it has to have flavor. You kind of pointed to this at the start of the episode, Bob, but like when a wing is just there to simply be hot, like the entire purpose of the sauce is to just blow you away, I have zero interest because there's no flavor.
Right.
There's nothing enticing about that to me. But this, I would agree with you, Bob. It's just on the hottest end of hot where I'm like, okay, I don't want to do much more than that. But there is some really good smoky flavor to this that I didn't see in the other three sauces. And I do like this one a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. Man, it's building though. So let me ask you some first date questions. We're going to go rapid fire, Brad. Oh, man. Woo! Brad, if you're getting a burger at a restaurant, what toppings do you get on your burger? What's needed to build the perfect burger?
If I'm going, I will say I have a few different like favorite burgers, but whenever I go and I see like a black and blue burger, that is like my ideal thing. Some fresh blue cheese, some onion straws, maybe like a barbecue sauce, maybe like an A1 sauce, some mushrooms on there. Sometimes, not every time, but like that's like my ideal burger.
Brad, I find it really funny, like getting to know you now, in terms of your preferences for things you like to eat. I would not have thought that you would be a blue cheese person. I know you don't like pickles, so like moldy cheese doesn't seem like it would be up your alley.
Pickles are literally one of the worst creations. The juice gets everywhere and like infects everything that it touches. Although I will say on equal level with terribleness of pickles is black licorice. Robert, what is the weirdest scar that you have and how did you get it?
Weirdest scar? Oh, this is hot. Man, it's not going away, Brad. I'm feeling it on the tip of my tongue. I feel like the tip of my tongue is starting to get burnt, like blistered. The scar
on your esophagus from this hot sauce.
I will say, like, it's not super hot going down. It's just my tongue that's on fire. I'm sweating too. Weirdest scar I have. When I was like 5 years old, I was drawing or coloring something with like a sharpened pencil, and my dad said, "Go upstairs and get your sisters. We have to go somewhere." And as I was running up the steps, I tripped and the pencil went into my hand. And so I had to go to the emergency room and they had to pick all the little pieces of graphite out of my hand. But even as a 5-year-old, like you don't put somebody to sleep for that. So I was just numbed up and they just pulled my skin back and like pinned it and took little pieces of lead out. It was really weird to see as a kid. But for the most part, like I don't have a lot of scars. That one was the weirdest one that I have.
Dude, you know it's wild? I actually had the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go to the hospital or anything. I just remember as a kid, I think it was a mechanical pencil that like had the lead out.
Oh yeah.
But I fell and it jammed into my hand, and I actually still have like a little black mark on my hand. And I'm not convinced that there's not some lead still in my body.
Yeah. I think what that really means is that you probably just developed a superpower.
I'm telling you, like, it's a legitimate black mark.
Huh.
That I'm like, I know that that's where I stabbed myself in the hand as a kid with a pencil.
Interesting.
And I'm not convinced that there's not still lead in there.
All right, man, we've got one more to try. I don't know if I'm going to go with like the extra little dab of sauce on this one. I baked it into it, and I think that might be plenty for me because we are jumping from habanero to ghost pepper, the dreaded ghost pepper. And this one is called Killer Hot. So, Brad, you know, if you wanted to ask me again, like where I'd usually draw the line with my hot sauce, when the name of the hot sauce implies that you will die from eating it, that's where I draw the line.
And turn into a ghost?
That's where I'm like, nah, I'll pass. This one is very red. Like, just, it's like glowing red. And the subtitle on this one, an ecstasy so dangerous, it should be forbidden. Brad, I've never tried anything with ghost pepper before because I like to keep my wits about me and not have a meltdown. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, the picture on here is of a Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of woman.
A femme fatale?
A femme fatale pouring, I think, this hot sauce on a Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider type character who is literally set on fire.
Yeah.
So I'm like not excited at all. I don't want to be that man, Bob.
Let's do this. On 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm not noticing it yet. Maybe it baked all the way in. Maybe I do have to do another dab. For science.
For science.
For the pod.
Oh, God.
No, it's like all the way baked into mine. Is it hit? Oh, it's hitting Brad. All right, here we go. Brad is like slapping his own face. Oh, man, I put too much on. Oh, well.
I will be right back.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening to the podcast, we took a break because Brad had to run and get milk of some sort. And the funny thing is,
whole milk.
What's that?
Whole milk.
And the thing is, Brad doesn't partake of dairy, so I know that this is serious when Brad's drinking whole milk. I will say this, Brad, I don't know where you're at with this one. It seemed like it had adverse effects on you. I actually don't find this to be as hot as the habanero one was, because the habanero one, like, really burned up the front part of my tongue. This one's much more of like a back of the throat heat, and it lingers a lot longer. But I kind of prefer that type of heat to the one that we got in the habanero. So I don't know where you're at with it, but it was definitely a different kind of heat.
It's definitely a different kind of heat. I will say there was actually some flavor on this.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
Yep.
It was a little bit smoky, kind of like the habanero one. It did kind of have a little bit of a tomatoey feel to it. Oh, man, this is still...
My lips are burning on this one, though. I'll say that. Like, my lips feel chapped.
Yeah, I was going to say this one definitely, I was very careful not to get it on my lips. But as I'm sitting here talking, even with the milk that I just drank, man, it is burning up my tongue. And this is where I kind of draw the line with hot sauce, where I'm like, there's good flavor on this, but the amount of burn that this is giving me and the amount of pain that my tongue is in right now,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just not for me.
Not for you. Yeah.
But I will say, unlike other like Nukem.
Oh yeah, Da Bomb.
Yeah, like unlike other sauces that are like meant to murder you, this one actually seemed to have a little bit of flavor.
Yeah.
So if you are into this type of thing, if you love the hottest types of hot sauce you can get, like I would say this is probably on the top end of those types of sauces, although I'm not an expert.
All right, Brad, as we wind down today, I want to rank these 5 sauces. And I think for me, and probably for you, my number one, without question, would be the dragon sauce.
Dude, I know that it was a flavor of the month, Silk City, but you gotta throw that in the rotation.
Yeah, this needs to be a permanent fixture of your product line because this was fantastic. Now, that'd be my number one. I don't know where you're at with number 2, Brad, but a very close second for me would be that peach one, the Slurp.
Yeah, I think the Slurp was very clearly a second for me. I would call it not a distant second, but not a close second.
Oh, interesting.
It was really good. I liked it a lot, but I really, really loved that dragon.
See, I feel like having those 2 on hand, you've got 2 really good hot sauces for like whatever you're in the mood for. If I'm in the mood for something lighter, a little bit fruitier, I'm going to go with the Slurp. If I want something a little smokier, almost a barbecue type flavor, I'm going to go with that Dragon.
Yeah, and then when we come into my third favorite, I think it's really close between the Salsa Verde, the Aztec Attack, and the Hot Experiment, actually. I actually kind of liked that habanero smoky flavor, and the heat wasn't too intense. That I actually really enjoyed it a lot. I think I'm going to put that in my 3 slot, Bob.
Yeah, so I'm actually in kind of the opposite spot as you, Brad, where I'm trying to choose between the Ghost Pepper and the Carpe Verde for my number 3. So I think I'm actually going to put the Ghost Pepper at 3 because I am usually so turned off just by the concept of a sauce that hot that to be as impressed as I am with it, I think it kind of deserves the number 3 spot.
Did you just say Carpe Verde?
That's what
sees the green.
That's what it says on the bottle.
Oh, really?
Aztec Attack, Carpe Verde. Yeah.
I didn't have the bottle in front of me. That's funny. Sees the green.
So it sounds like the green's going to be both of our number 4 then.
Yeah, the green is my number 4. I think the green is really good, but that flavor, the green, chili verde flavor just isn't. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, but I think it had good flavor. It was better than I thought it would be. So, you got that going for you.
Now, here's the thing. There is a very famous YouTube channel where celebrities eat hot wings. We're not going to talk about it on here. And I was thinking that we might have a similar experience, Brad, where we are eating hot sauces that are so hot that the comedy would be we can barely get through these first date questions. But at the end of the day, I actually think the opposite effect happened, where the guys at Silk City used the peppers in these hot sauces so well and mingled them with flavors other than hot so well that it really actually created a very pleasant tasting experience for me.
Yeah, I'm sitting at the end of this and, with a little bit of milk to take care of that ghost pepper, I'm not going to lie, Bob, this Silk City is dope.
Yeah.
Like, they have some amazing sauces, and that, like I said, that dragon sauce is just out of this world.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so important. Like, if we were rating this like we were rating whiskey, I think that all of these would get nearly a 10 out of 10 on balance.
Absolutely.
Like, they all just mark off all the boxes and they don't overwhelm you in one area or another.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brad. So Silk City hot sauce is made and sold by Levinsky's Top Shelf Foods in Rockingham, Vermont. You can find their products at silkcityhotsauce.com. They're running some great specials for Christmas, like a pick 2 or a pick 3 pack. I absolutely think these are worth the price. Brad and I definitely give our stamp of approval to the Dragon and to the Slurp. I would also say if you're into hot stuff, try the Ghost Pepper. Brad would probably say try the Hot Experiment. In any case, you really cannot go wrong with these hot sauces, and we are so, so grateful for them, for sending them to us, and for sponsoring today's episode. And once again, Jeff at Silk City was kind enough not only to sponsor this episode, but also to offer a discount to Film and Whiskey listeners. So if you'd like to try some of these, make sure to go to their website, use the promo code WHISKEY at checkout to save 15% and get a free bottle of hot sauce.
Yeah, we'll throw the link to their website in our bio, but Bob, this is some good stuff, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to continue eating these as we sign off for the day. We will be back on Monday with a regularly scheduled episode. But until then, I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And we'll see you next time. Film and Whiskey is produced, engineered, and edited by Bob Book and Brad G. And it's made possible from support from listeners like you. If you'd like to support the show, you can donate directly to us at our Anchor page, anchor.fm/filmwhiskey, where you can support the show for as little as $1 a month. Or if you'd like some perks, donate to our Patreon page. You can find us on patreon.com/filmwhiskey, where for as little as $3 a month, you'll receive benefits like membership to an exclusive Discord chat room, extended cuts of each episode, and early access to every Film and Whiskey episode. We want to say thank you again to our Patreon supporters, especially those sponsoring us at our highest viscosity level, and that includes our friends Corey Easterday, James Talbert, Austin Dupree, and Aperture Flash. We'll see you next week.